Hello there, this is Rom coming back at you with yet another car video. Quite frankly, men need game. And this video, this is a follow-up, I wouldn't say a response, a follow-up to a video done by Cousin T-Taw, why game is a gift from God. And I'll put a link to that in the description box. And he's right. Now, let me be clear. When I talk about game, I'm not talking about doing a bunch of trickery or stuff like that. I mean, yeah, you can call that game, but game is just really, when you get down to it, just a social strategy for man to get a woman. And in this day and age, when you have a major issue with many men being lonely, many men not being able to get a date, many babies aren't being born. Like, it's interesting. People will talk about that, but one of the biggest problems with that is the men ain't able to get with the women. All game is you could call it slang for just being able to get women. If you don't want to call it that, call it social strategy. If you want to feel like, well, I'm just real honest and present who I am, if it works for you, that's your game. Every man has to have that, because even some men who would be called Chad or Tyrone, they still got to have something. They ain't going to get a woman just because they look good. Indeed, as I've said numerous times, sometimes women don't want, well, many times, not just sometimes, many times, women don't want a man who look better than they do. And some women are intimidated by that. But what if that man has some game? Or indeed, what I've said, yeah, that's good to stop a woman, but that ain't going to get her. Because what do I always say? A woman will say he was all right till he opened his mouth. So you still have to have game to get her. And game is more than just what you're doing for yourself, how you fixing yourself up. How you looking, how you letting the barber bless you, how you dressing, how you speaking to the woman. It's also knowing the women. One of the fun things I do is I look at women and try to figure out their social class. And I'll learn it as I'm talking with them. Where they work, who they work for. If they corporate or if they working class. That's part of game too. Know which women that you're dealing with. Because that's one issue many men might have. They trying to talk to a woman. They might be gully looking, all dirty looking and looking rough, trying to talk to an upper class woman and then wondering why she ain't going to talk to them. Part of the game is just knowing also the environment that you in. You got to know the environment you in. Like, I'll use the example of football. A good wide receiver, if they going out for a pass, they know they need to make 10 yards. A good smart one is going to go 11 yards. If they know they need to get out, they're going to go by the sideline. They're going to know what they need to do. You're going to have that, what they call in any sport, a high IQ for it. You're going to be smart with it. That's knowing game, knowing the environment and everything of that nature. See, game is just really just knowing, when I say here I'll say the game of man gets woman. Now, if you don't want to use that term, that's good, but you still got to have a social strategy. Because women, I wish they did, they just don't walk up and back that thing up. And you just can't walk up to every single woman and say, hey, baby, you's a big, fine woman. Let me stick that thing in. You can't do that. It'd be great if you could, but no, you can't. Because you in social environments, you got to know where you at. Because there's a big difference in even social environments. You can't approach a woman the same way in maybe a religious institution like a church that you can at a nightclub. That's game right there. Okay, where are you at? How can you approach it? Environment. I just made some videos for next week. I always do my sit-down videos a week ahead, at least a week ahead. And I did some videos next week. I'll be talking about environment a lot. But that's game. And every man needs that. Every man needs that. They need to know what they can do. I still never forget when I told my youngest son, I gave him some game just driving, just like we doing now. That dude got big game. So if I see a woman out and about that I might happen to know, and I say, hey, how you doing? He's saying hi too. He like, hey, how you doing? If it's an older woman, I gotta tell him to say miss, but still. All that is game. It's like knowing who you are, knowing the environment you in, knowing which women you dealing with. And every man needs that. Because one of the things I've seen with men who have trouble getting women is they quite frankly don't have game. And like I said, if you don't like that term, use the term social strategy. Because you in a social environment. You're not out in the woods where you can just go get any woman you want. I don't care who she is. Like one of the things I do when I see a woman, I don't care how fine she is, I automatically look at her finger. The reason why I do that, I'll never forget back when I was in high school and I was talking to this woman. It was at some arcade and I was shooting the breeze. Now my boys were there, they weren't saying anything. They were shooting the breeze, and then I finally said, okay, let me get your phone number. And she said, nah, she married and she had this big old ring on. So that part of the game is part of my game. If I ever run into a woman, it's like automatically. I don't care how fine she is, how pretty her face is, how round her butt is, because I look at that first. I just say breast assist for comedic effect. Always look at her finger. Automatically, I always look at her finger. And I especially pay attention when I see women on a constant basis. I know are married, but they don't always wear their ring finger, their ring. See, that's get deeper into it. Like I said, I can look at a woman, and if I interact with her for 10 minutes, I can tell whether or not she's going to cheat. Indeed, sometimes even if I don't see them or know them, I know they're cheaters. Like I can think of one woman now, I ain't gonna say where I meet her at because I got so many people at this one place who know me. But I know she'll cheat. I already know she'll cheat. Cause she don't say she act like she don't know me if she around like a family member or her husband. So, but see, that's game too. Knowing how the women in your environment gonna react to you. And then really, you gotta start game with yourself. You gotta start it with yourself. Now you get some guys, they say, well, you don't look like that. So hold up. As soon as somebody say that, they don't have game. Because that's just part of it. Because you can still fix yourself up. When I say let the barber bless you, that's game. Like I joke with barbers every time I meet one. I say, y'all responsible for the birth of more babies than Barry White. Sure, you're right. But they are. Because when they give that cut and a lady see that cut, shoot, they be like getting a little wet. They see that nice cut. But see, that's part of the game too. And then, really, I'm going to tell you what. Let's be real. And this is especially for the guys who don't look like Chad or Tyrone. They ain't super handsome. Well, that's like 99% of the male population on the planet. But they got other things. And so what they'll do, they'll dress well. They'll maybe get their body well. They'll fix up everything they can. That's game. That's a social strategy right there. So you know, like you can get the woman to stop. And then conversation. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Can you have a conversation with a woman? That's why I say practice saying hi to 3 women a day. And just average women. Like I had one guy say he did that, but it was only women he wanted to have sex with. It's like, nah, dude. You got to get to the point you can have a conversation any place, anytime, anywhere. No matter what. But see, that's game too, because it's conversation is a big part of game. Because no matter what you look like, no matter how much money that you might be showing, how fancy that car is that you're driving, you still gotta communicate with the woman. You still gotta say, even if it's communication enough to say, come home. See, let me get into that, because you get a lot of guys thinking, oh, you don't need personality, you don't need. Well, first of all, these dudes, they ain't an expert at the game. How they even saying something like that? They ain't getting none. So how can they not speaking from a perspective of knowing personally what they need to do. They not saying it from a place of knowing. They going from theory in their mind. Well, I'm telling you, you gotta be able to talk to them. You gotta be able to talk to them, have that conversation. I don't care what you look like. What you look like is just getting them. That's just the bait right there. You still gotta talk to them. And shoot, I ain't even gonna get into the sex game, because some guys can't even get into that. And then as far as what you're doing, even meeting women, because I saw a couple clips. Where you gonna meet women at? Where you gonna meet women? Now, it's a lot of guys talking about, well, we'll just meet them online. Very few guys do it. Very, very few guys do it. Let's just be real with that. And even then, you gotta have some game right there, because you gotta have the right pictures, the right words, and then even then, you still gotta talk to that woman straight up. Because it's dumb as shit if you don't at least have a conversation with that woman before you meet her. Like this was years ago. It was some woman, she catfished like a whole group of men. Got them all to meet her. I forget what the name of that woman was, but she had been online, met a bunch of guys and online, and got them all to come to New York. I was like, what? Yeah, she got them all to come to New York. It was like, what the fuck? Wait a minute. Wait. Holy. They might have to go a different way. They doing some lame shit up here. I'll just go this way. But she got all these dudes to come to New York. And it was like a whole bunch of them, a whole group of them, and then compete for her. I'm like, her? But see, if they had game, even online, they would have said, hold up, I got to talk to you first. I got to talk to you. They wouldn't have got caught up in that whole situation. But they just getting caught up in her picture and things of that nature, not seeing what's up with her. And let this car go by, then I'm going this way. This is a little bit different from what I usually do, but they all stuck up in there. I don't have time for that. But I'm gonna tell you what, that's all it is strategy, is knowing. Because let's just be real, let's think about it. We live in a social environment. You can't just grab any woman. If you do just grab any woman, damn, there was a deer over there. And there was Popo right there, wait. If you do just grab any woman, right, you'll see Popo. You gotta talk to him. That's social. You gotta be in a social environment. You gotta do all that stuff. All game is how you gonna work in that social environment to interact with that woman. Because one thing else with women too, women by nature, they're gonna be defensive. And this is regardless of how you look. This is regardless. They don't know what your thing is. Shoot, women worried about a man attacking them. That's a woman's greatest fear. They worry about everything, so you got to talk to them. You got to make them feel comfortable. That's part of the game, too. So they checking you out. That's something I'm talking about next week, how a woman looking at you. So you got to look a certain way. You got to get them comfortable. You got to be able to talk to them in such a way that they're interested in taking things further. Shoot. And even when you going on a date, where you going on a date with them? Very, very, very few of y'all. Very, 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 very few of y'all got it where you can just meet a woman and invite her back to your place. And even doing that, that's still game. See, men need that. But see, a lot of men out here don't. And like I said, like I keep saying, if you don't like the word game, use the term social strategy. You got to have some strategy. You got to talk to them. And when you say you being straight up, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. That's game too. And yes, there are some dudes who might lie and cheat or do whatever. Yeah, unfortunately, that's game. Game could be whatever, as long as it's a social strategy. But I would just say it's better just to be honest. Let the woman know straight up where you coming from, what you trying to do. Because one is easy. And two, women reading through your shit anyway. One thing about women, they reading your personality. They when they see you, they looking you up and down. They looking at your clothing. And yes, they looking at, I'm famous for saying shoes could get your dick sucked. They looking at your shoes. They assessing you. They looking at your haircut and whatever it is they want. And they will like reject you or accept you just based on your visuals. And then you have to still talk to them just to really close the deal. That's game. And then understanding is game, understanding which women are going to show some interest in it. That's game too. Like I was saying, you got to know which women are going to deal with you. Are those ratchets going to be the ones dealing with you, or those upper class women? Like, I'm just coming from the gym now. There was a woman in there. I said, okay. I can tell from looking at her. Shout out Master Teacher BGS. He would call her a 92 octane. And how I could tell, didn't have any tats. Had short professional cut hair. Like, if you get a corporate woman, she working like 60 hours a week. You can't, she don't have time to be sitting in a hair salon all that long. She don't have time for it. She got to get in and get out if she even go to one. But that's part of the game. You got to know, okay, what women you dealing with. And I'm going to use the word target. If you out here trying to get with a woman, you got to know, okay, which women are going to be responsive or receptive to your game. Your game. Because that's even how you talk, your speech intonation. Because you might have a certain speech intonation, it's going to turn off maybe one class of women, but turn on another class of women. You got to know all of that. And what I always say, the best way to learn that is really you got to get out. Like I always say, and I say constantly, and I will keep saying, don't go by just what I'm saying. You got to take your ass out there. And you can't go by just what's on you seeing online. You see anything online, and don't even worry about somebody showing some video or something of them picking up some women. Most of the time, I'll say majority of the time, 90% of the time, there's some actors. Even on those prank videos where you get some guy trying to talk to a woman, she don't want to talk to him, but then all of a sudden he jump in a car. So hold up, how you got all those damn camera angles? Those are prank videos. Sometimes you gotta recognize what's real and what's not real. But in the real world, yeah, they looking at that. You gotta think about, okay, well, how you dress? How's your haircut? What's your body build? Because I'm gonna tell you what, even when I talk about body game, and I get into this in a video next week, even your body build is going to attract different types of women. Now, even And now let me get into something, because I know some guys just want to attract supermodel of the world. Do you have the game to get supermodel of the world? And I ain't talking about money either. Do you have the look? Do you have the social graces? If you're talking about maybe upper middle class to upper class to rich woman, you can't go at it the same way. You can't go at it the same way. I knew this dude. He was player. But some women didn't want to deal with him because he was of a lower class. And they even questioned me. They said, "Why are you hanging out with somebody like him?" But that's how deep that shit go. That is how deep that shit go. And that's how you gotta look at it. The game is the game. And like I said, you don't have to get caught up in that terminology, but you still got to have some strategy, some way of talking to the women. Like I said, you just can't grab one. Even so-called chads, so-called handsome, they can't just grab one. In fact, that movie I talked about last week, Baby Girl. Now, some dude might, you get some dudes, they say, well, he was a Chad and all that. No, he had to have game to get her. He had to have game to get her, to read her, to see what was going to work with her, what wasn't. See, that's something else, too. You got to know what's going to work for you and what's going to work on particular women. Because if he tried that with maybe another woman, she might be like, get the fuck out of here. But he knew that was going to work on that particular woman. That's game right there. See, that's something else too. Because like it or not, everything is not going to work on the same woman. Went over a bump. Tells you got this new holder. You don't hold as tight as the last one, but that's alright. That's alright. Anyway, I'm going to get something. Go ahead and get some food. Yeah, I see somebody I know going in the store. Wait a minute, let me back this thing up right. Yeah. Anyway, so, but every man needs game. Every man needs game. Or social strategy, whatever term you want to use. Man gets woman. I don't care who you are. And you got men like me teaching it. You got men like Cousin T-Tall. You got men like Mr. Lucario Miles Cunningham. You got some guys teaching it. Pay attention to it, because you need it out here. Because, like I said, very, very few men are going to go out and a woman just going to just jump on it. And you can't just say, just grab a woman. Nah, it don't work like that. So anyway, though, that's all I got for today. I'll get back with y'all. Peace.